Hi, my loves, welcome back in. I am so excited to share this with you because this has been so truly on my heart since last night where things started to click for me. I've had a couple of weeks where I feel like I've gone underground and I've had a lot of reflection, and things started to finally slot into place last night. And what came up was I'm really realizing as I get more into owning living in my natural way, so letting my body kind of take the lead and then trying to build a life around that in the endeavor of a happy and sustainable and authentic life, I found that as I let my body do its thing more and then let my ego completely try and push back, and I basically ignore it, so I prioritize my body instead of my mind as much as I can. Of course, that happens in stages. I've realized that I work in cycles, 3-year cycles, and this is a huge revelation for me. As I said, that I am trying to live based on what my body wants and needs, because I believe this is the basis of a sustainable, happy and authentic life. And I've learnt this so I had health issues for 13 years growing up, so that's impacted the way that my body operates massively, because it was over the time that my body was developing. But the thing is that no one knew. I knew that things felt really wrong, but I thought it was just, oh, I have a bad mindset. But it broke me because I'm getting all this feedback from other people saying your environment is very safe, your family is amazing, they do this and they have that and they give you that. But all the while I'm feeling extremely fearful and as though everything is collapsing on me. So I know this feeling of your inside having a very, very different experience than what is on the outside. You know, you kind of look out on the outside of life and you go, well, I technically have everything. I have a lot more. Like, I should be a lot happier than I am now. I have a lot more than a lot of other people, even people around me. But I don't feel good. I don't feel how I thought I would when I got this, or I don't feel like how other people look like it when they have what I have. So, you know, you could be looking at someone exactly the same scenario and go, well, they're really happy and I'm not. What's happening? And this really took me a very, very long time, 15 years, but it really opened my eyes to there's a lot more going on beneath the surface, that our society, having come from a very logical background and family background, my mind's very logical in nature, that we don't understand the subtleties of what's going on. And this can kind of be encapsulated in understanding our emotions, understanding relationship dynamics. We have no emphasis on that in our culture whatsoever. We have more of an emphasis on progression and growth, and the 1900s were a great example of that when we had the industrial boom. But we leave a lot of connection and happiness on the table when we solely prioritize those values. And so for me, living naturally, letting my body lead the way so I can have healthy connection, that is probably the biggest thing that I've ever wanted. And I'm still on the way to getting there. It's been a very long, but very rewarding journey to authenticity and knowing myself, but it is so worth it. And what I've learned as I've kind of gone very bold into, you know what, everyone in my life is saying, oh, everything's fine. My insides are going, like, screaming at me that everything is completely catastrophic. I had to accept, okay, well, I'm going to be the weird one and I'm just going to be bold and do things my way. And that has been one of the biggest blessings ever. And which is why, like, a little testament to, if you've got this feeling that you want to be bold, do something weird, do something that doesn't fit your environment or the people around you, no matter how much they love you, no matter how much you love them, it's all going to shake out. You need to do that for you. So 100% do it. If you're watching this and you're kind of on the edge of a decision that you feel inside you is the right one, but your ego, your mind is kind of going, oh, but what about the money? What about the relationship? Blah, blah, blah. Best thing you could do is just go for it. A little sidetrack there, but I get very passionate about that. Anyway, cycles. So the past 9 years, it's probably happened before that as well. But I think as I've kind of gone into adulthood and owned, okay, no, I'm going to live based on what my body is telling me, that started about 9 years ago. And I realized that for me, it's 3 year cycles. So the first year is I'm very withdrawn. I don't have the capacity to work. I don't have the capacity to fit other people's expectations in this time. I'm very reflective. I'm very intuitive. I go in on myself. And the shadow side of this is my self-worth goes down. I don't know. I feel like I don't know who I am. I feel like I don't understand the world, but I'm very, very curious and I'm a complete sponge. I will absorb anything and I'll get quite obsessive about something that is going to take me to the next growth level, something that I feel like is really going to propel me. And I don't always understand logically what that is, but I'm just very drawn to it and I just have to go for it. So this first year has been very, very clear, the last 2 cycles. So for me, this was last year where I felt like everything was completely crumbling down. It was such extreme growth, but basically what's happening is everything is purging in my body. I've had the previous years to create a safe space, a safe structure, and then a lot is being released, a lot is coming to the surface. And although it feels like everything is falling apart, because it's everything that is deep in my body that is now being surfaced, but once you get out of that phase, you hit magic. You hit a new level of stability and love and connection and understanding and a new level of consciousness, and I absolutely love that. But I now know, having had the past few cycles, that I can't trust myself to earn. I can't, because I was in corporate before, my body will shut down. I can't meet other people's expectations. My body is like, I need to go fully in on whatever I want to process. And I'm learning, maybe it's a natural thing of humans, maybe it's more just me, but I'm all in, especially when it comes to my growth. If this feels right, I am all in. I don't care how chaotic it gets. I'm all in and I'm getting through this no matter what it looks like on the surface. So that's my first year. It's very withdrawn. I like to isolate a fair bit here. I'm very sensitive in this year too, in a very lovely way, but also that's why I need to isolate, because I feel as though the jokes and stuff that I could take before, I now feel don't really sit with me. It's kind of like everything that I thought and have built on, the whole idea of life, I now question everything and I don't know what's safe and what's not. So I very, very much value protection and stability and outside structure here. And if I've got to perform at work, then I can't focus on growth. So that's my first year. And then I get into the first year of the cycle. And then I get into the second year. And we can categorize that first year as quite a feminine value year. So I can do a video on feminine and masculine energy if you guys aren't too familiar with it. But feminine generally is about intuition and flow and creativity, whereas masculine values, this isn't gender related, but masculine values are about progress and success and expression and driving force, being out there, whereas feminine energy is very come within and personal development. So my first year is very feminine. Second year, and I guess this is a cycle. I say that's my first year, but my second year is quite masculine. This is where, again, using corporate as a great example, I flourish. I start to integrate and build on top of or build with a lot of my previous year. So my feminine year, I had a lot of desires come up and I realized a lot that didn't work for me before, and now I start to action those changes. And that's the annoying thing about the first year, is that you feel like I hate not doing anything. So not being able to action as much, not being able to have as much energy to go out there, being very me-centered was very hard. And this year is quite the opposite. I now take all of that and I go, okay, I have this new inner sense of self. I'm now going to build on that. I'm now going to make that my physical reality. I'm going to change stuff so that it fits what I feel inside, this heightened sense of self and confidence and worth. So yeah, I do very, very well. I feel very magnetic. I feel charismatic. I feel very persuasive. I feel very chatty. I want to go out and explore a lot. And it's more about going out and explore to meet other people and see what their world is like. Whereas exploring in my first year is a lot more, I want silence and to just be in that experience rather than go and seek more and do more. So this is a very fruitful year, and this is often where I get often where I earn a fair bit of money. I get a lot from the new connections I build too, and reputation and people, because I think I've had a much more solid base from that first year. People in this second phase I found that they want to give me stuff, and I've had comments before, like people want to help me because I'm just acting from this very honest place of I'm doing this for me. It's a building on a very authentic place from the last year, and I know everything that I couldn't touch and do last year, and now I'm really happy that I can action things this year. So I'm in a very grateful state, and I just want to give, and that can be very attractive for other people too, and they want to be a part of that, and so you also benefit as well, which is really nice. And then this third year, which I think this has been, so I kind of got a little bit of a glimpse of, I work in cycles, because some things, it's really strange, but some things have repeated itself to the day, like leaving a job, for example, and it's totally not planned. I only just realized it in hindsight. But the last piece that I hadn't really understood was this third year. So I have a third year in the cycle, and it's like an integration process or a pruning process. So things start to slow down, and that was really hard for me especially when I first started this cycle, where I spent the first year going, I'm not enough, I can't do anything, I can't get what I want. The second year going, holy shit, I have so much self-worth now, and I can actually get those things, and not only can I get it, but I feel great, and the whole world is moving with me too. And then to start feeling like I'm losing that, I'm losing momentum, I don't know who I am. And each time when I get in that second year, that masculine year, I'm like, I found who I am, I found my purpose, I found actual momentum where I can start to build my life. And then the third year comes and it starts to crash. And I've noticed that this is actually a year where the feminine and the masculine are fully integrating, and I'm starting to prune. So I'm starting to get rid of inefficiencies. So I still have I can actually double the achievements that I had in my masculine year, and I don't have to put as much effort behind it. I can receive a lot more too. And so I'm not as busy, I'm not as full, I can kind of just start to relax. But the flip side of this for me, because I didn't understand what was going on, is I felt my energy go down and I'd freak out. I didn't have as much energy as last year. What's happening? Like, everything was radiant last year and I was outgoing and everyone loved me, and now I feel like everything's crashing. And I realized that it's an integration, and what's happening is everything is becoming more efficient, ready for the next year. And the next year is where the cycle starts again, which is my feminine year. That is where something new will come up. So at the end of that integration year, maybe keeping the theme of masculine and feminine, we can call it more of a neutral year. But at the end of that year, I start to get this feeling of something's not enough. Like, I kind of want something else, and I judged myself for that. I kind of thought, well, why do you want more? You just had a really hard year learning in your feminine. You felt great in your masculine, as it all fit in with what you wanted from life, or what you thought you wanted. And then now you want something else, and to just go back to square one. And seeing these as cycles has really helped me accept that it really highlights to me that things do change, and also that there are macro energies at play. It's not just how you feel each day. It's not just, especially for women, how you feel each week or month based on your period, but actually that this happens in yearly cycles as well. And not just, I've also found patterns in 1 year, but in terms of kind of cycles getting to my goals, I found for me it's 3 years. And this is really, really helpful for me going forward, because now I can ease up on myself. Now I know what to understand from each year I'm going into and how to support myself. So I know that now I'm going into this masculine year. If it feels right, I will try and get, well, basically this masculine year, I'm now going to go into it and also appreciate that if I feel like I want to save and bring things in towards me and create more, then, and like receive less from other people, then I can do that, because in another year I'm going to feel like the opposite, where I'd like someone else to create the stability and instead I just need to be in that natural flow and growth place. So I can start to use each of the years to better prepare myself and better build stability for the future years. So in the previous cycle just went, I spent a year or two building a whole load of money. By the time I got to my feminine year, I didn't know it was my feminine year. I thought my whole life was crashing down and people told me I was having a midlife crisis. I realized, or my first year I was really, really good, and it felt really good to save. And then the second year I was like, well, I don't know what my future is like. I don't have a job. I don't know where I'm heading. I don't know who I am. I'm so confused. Life is really, really bad right now because I had a lot of changes. And what I ended up learning was that that year was about spending. So I always thought that if you're good with money, then you've kind of got this constant natural flow of things coming in, things coming out, and you just know how to handle it. But I'm learning for me that I've got, maybe in terms of my macro learnings, it's more of a yearly basis. So the first year I'll save loads. The second year it feels really good to spend. And I used to have a lot of wounds around spending money because I was like, I just want to save. I just want that stability. But now going forward, I can really relax knowing that, okay, if I feel like saving more this year, do it. Also knowing that, okay, I can put a bit more away, because I know in 2 years' time, I'm going to have probably a year where I just want to dip out. I just want to be in home in my bubble just to recreate and come back to simple nature and health. And now I can save and do that, and I don't have to bully myself for not working in my feminine year. I don't have to worry about it, because the year where I saved actually supported me financially in my feminine year. And I love this because it proved to me, like, I do naturally believe everything happens for a reason, and I have a lot of faith, but really kind of actioning and leaning in on that faith, that the world has a plan for me, a universe has a plan, like it will support you when you don't feel, even if you don't feel supported, it is supporting you. And that was just a huge learning for me. So where this intersects for me is I learned all about cycles, and at the same time I've been focusing a bit more on working through my commitment phobia. And connection is the one thing that I've always wanted, and I've kind of always thought that, yeah, no, I'm looking for a relationship. I'm actively doing things, and I was, but I wasn't emotionally ready for one. And this is also very clear that I spent nearly all my time focused on career building and hardly any on relationships. And that's what this cycle for me on a macro level has been about. It's been about, my previous cycle was about more achievement and learning and earning money, and can I fit into the world's structure, the world's expectations. And this year has been about, okay, now I know the world's structure and expectations and corporate and masculine values. Can I now live, flourish in that environment, being led by my body? So building, instead of having to work for someone else, that means working for myself and building structures where I can really support my body and the connection and everything that I want now and in future. And so yeah, I've been properly diving into commitment, and because as I said, I'm very all in, so I'm not one to just date, and I don't really get the whole boyfriend girlfriend thing. my mind's kind of going, if I'm doing it, I want to date for long-term commitment. I'm not sure whether that means marriage for me yet, but life partner basically. So I'm building a lot to get myself there. And I now realized that, so for me, the learning came a bit more through financial, because I worry, and always have since I was very young, I worried about what kind of job I'd do, how I'd earn money, how I'd get stability, and I need to not rely on my parents from a very young age, etc., etc. And I've found a community last year who is a group of women, and they very much value masculine and feminine polarity, especially in long-term relationships. So they believe, I'll speak strictly or a bit more financially because that's the angle that I'm coming from, my recent learning, that the man will provide financial support and the woman doesn't have to work. But I don't mean this in a gold digger sense. It's not the woman using the man. It's a sense where both partners feel fulfillment. Because I have a very strong masculine side in me. As I said, it's not gender-based. My masculine loves to give, and it loves to provide for people, especially if they're very kind of creative and natural, and just knowing that my money and my giving makes a big impact to them gives me a lot back. And so it's about finding a man who loves to give and a woman who loves to receive, and obviously they can both switch roles, and it's not about the money, the woman draining the man's resources and him feeling burnt out. As I said, he gets a lot from giving and protecting and providing. It builds his masculine nature. As I said, I have felt this firsthand because I think I've gone into the world learning the masculine. Actually, no, I don't know if I could say that's true, but the past cycle, I'd say on a macro level, has been very much about learning the masculine values of our society, Western society. And yeah, the feminine is about being able to receive and appreciate all that he's worked for and all that he's giving and all that he's sacrificing. But also, now that she's got a load of free time, and this is my view, I want that free time to be able to create something. And I also love creating money. As I said, that I've got a very strong masculine side, but I now want that to be going towards pleasurable stuff for us. So those extra experiences that he can't quite get with what he earns, I can now add to if I want to. But if shit hit the fan, he's providing all the evolutionary basics, the food and the shelter and whatever your arrangement might be, so that I don't have to worry if things get really bad or if I have a complete wobbly. I've got a man that I know can trust, can get us through that. And I still, even though I've worked through a lot of that, and my parents actually work on this basis. My parents aren't married, they're not religious, they're not spiritual, but my dad basically pays for everything. My mum pays for food and she'll do vacations as well. But my dad's always said that he's set things up that if my mum didn't work, we could still have all of that anyway. And I really value that, I really cherish that, because I see my mum can be a little bit, she dips in and out, and so it's really nice to see that my dad's still got a support and structure for her. So no matter what, safety is not in question. It's not a competition. It's like we can all relax knowing that that's covered, kind of thing. And my dad feels really good knowing that he's doing that for someone else as well. And he, again, like I don't even think my mum knows, he's doing that for him because it makes him feel good, because he knows it makes him a good structure, a good backbone for the family. And I love that. And I've still, I think up until recently, I still had a little snippet where I still had a little bit of guilt, or I couldn't quite own it. And I realize now, for me, it's not just a case of, oh yeah, I'm building towards a life that I do want a bit more stability. I do want to be able to relax, and then, I don't have to worry about safety. We can build a life from there. The extra notch now is, now that I know I work in cycles, it would be unfair for me to be with a man who wants 50-50 relationship, knowing that I now have years. It's not just a one-off year. It's not, because each time I went through that, I thought it was just a one-off, but now I'm seeing it's a cycle. And those cycles may look different in the future of my life, but as I plan for my life now, I really need to take into consideration that at least for 1 year out of the 3, maybe even 2, I'm probably not going to be earning. So if a man needs a 50-50 relationship for him to be and feel secure, I can't provide that. So it's very unfair. Not only is it unfair on me because I am looking for not a 50-50 relationship, but if I was trying to force myself into a 50-50 relationship, it's not fair on him because I'm going to put a lot of stress on him. I know that I go all in these different phases, and I can't be that stability for him. I can't trust myself to consistently earn, to consistently meet financially what he needs me to. So I guess this is a question to you guys to see if you've found cycles in your life, or can you trust yourself to throw yourself into what your body wants to naturally move into and see, just kind of observe. As I say, it's taken me a fair while to realize these cycles, but the more you do it, the more obvious it becomes. And so these past 2 cycles have been very obvious to me as I've been solely led by and trusting the urges that I feel. But I think my ultimate point, as I merge these two between realizing the cycles and thinking about a long-term partner, is this idea of reciprocals. So in a relationship or in any kind of, not necessarily romantic, but you have reciprocals, and the reciprocal of, to find a polarity and a matching partner, you have to be able to appreciate each other and respond to each other, and reciprocals is one word for this. The reciprocal of someone who is trustworthy, I always thought was that the other person is trustworthy. And this is why, it was just a really big source of confusion for me, because I was kind of going into stuff. I don't think trust was the one for me, but I'll use that example where I was like, well, I'm really trustworthy, then how come the other person isn't, and how come this kind of works? But the reciprocal of trustworthy is trusting, and I think that's a really big problem in our society, and I think I see it most when someone gives a gift. So the reciprocal of giving a gift is receiving the gift. It's not giving something back. And you'll see, I think a lot of us have probably seen this, when someone gives you a gift and the other person overgives in thanks. It's not like a nice, oh, thank you, like receiving it, like, oh, this feels lovely. It's kind of like, this is too much. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, I'll take it, but, oh, okay, like, thank you. It's almost like this, now I owe you. That's because they're not able to receive. They're not the reciprocal for receiving a gift. And this has been huge for me, because this is where society overlooks the feminine values of receptivity. And this is a really big part in connection, and a very big part in a polarity relationship, a romantic relationship. One where you can really express your true nature and desires. So being very considerate of the, are you, when you look at a lifetime partner and with your partner now, are you the reciprocal of them? Are you really allowing them to express their giving energy or express their receiving energy? And to tie it up, I've noticed that, so I've had a lot of tension and confusion around, I've had this belief in my head where, oh, but the Western world requires us, I need to be able to get a job, I need to be able to sustain it. Like, no man is gonna appreciate me or want me if I can't hold my own, they're gonna call me a gold digger, and I'm not gonna find that connection and stability, and they're gonna blame me for things, and so I need to be able to work and hold my own. But I've also got this other side where I'm like, I just want to explore, and I want to, as I said, living intuitively and following growth and evolution is maybe my biggest driver, maybe my biggest value. It's the one thing that I will follow to the end of time. Like, I don't care where it takes me, I have to follow it. It is my North Star. Even if it looks like it's gonna be the end of me, I can't not follow it. I might be able to resist it for a bit, but I can't not follow it, which is why I think I've learned to get all in, because why fight it? And as soon as you do that once, you start to realize, whoa, that gave me great returns. And so you get deeper and deeper and deeper. Things get more and more rewarding. But the point I'm trying to make is I finally realized last night that because I've always found it really hard to see who I am, what I bring. But as I've thrown myself in, especially this last cycle, I realize, biggest thing for me, natural health, following natural energy, just letting my body, I want my body to explore first and my mind to go, oh, okay, you want to do that, rather than my mind going, let's achieve that, and my body going, okay, let's go for it. That for me was too draining and it didn't feel right. That's what I tried in my last cycle and I couldn't sustain it. So this time, I'm realizing that I actually create a lot of, I'm very feminine in nature, which is a surprise to me. I like to follow natural cycles and energy. I believe in natural health as much as possible. I am very intuitive. I love creativity. I want to see where life takes me. I don't want to control it ideally. But the struggle I've always had is my masculine side of me, or maybe my feminine as well, I crave stability. I really, really need it. And I've held so much fear around it from when I was younger. And so that's where this part of me that's like, but you need to get a stable job and you need to earn as much as possible and you need to have the best life ever and you need to blah, 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 more and more and more. And I realize now that at the end of the day, especially as I'm a bit more all in, but I can only have one as my North Star. I can't have both because they're complementary and they're contradictory. So I realize now that for me, reciprocal in a partner is someone who loves to create stability, the same way that I love to create exploration and creativity and seeing where life takes me and growth and evolution. And as I create this, I want someone who values what I create. So I want someone who values the intuition and the creativity, and the fact that despite the fact that I might not work for a year and then I'll have the next year where I earn lows and then I'll have the third year where I don't know what the hell's going on through most of it, but someone who just kind of appreciates that I just trust whatever feeling I'm feeling despite all logic. So, and my reciprocal is that I very much value stability, but I need to accept now that I can't create it. I can't prioritize. If I want to go further and further into what I naturally am, and I want to see the full potential of that, I can't have this conflicting, I need to create stability side of me as well. So as I look for a long-term partner, I can now go, well, if I naturally create this creative, energetic flow, that means that I can find a partner who not only values, but creates stability too. And that's how we're reciprocals. So we're not the same, we are reciprocals. We create different things and we both like the opposite of what we create. And so for me, that means that I need to know how to value, appreciate, and build on stability that he's giving. And he needs to appreciate and value and respect the illogical body way of living that I live. So if you've got these kind of two seemingly conflicting, like I really want to go in that direction, but I need money and blah, blah, blah. That was my scenario, but it might look the opposite or a bit different to you. Then consider the fact that, if you want, you very much can have both. I definitely believe you can have both, but in terms of, like, for me, you also, so the beautiful thing about these reciprocals as well is that I need stability in order to be more me, in order to flourish more, in order to follow more energetic and creativity endeavors. And my guy who values stability needs someone, needs this opposing force that is body-led, so that he feels more inspired and he knows that his stability is being used in a really lovely way. He's not someone who naturally, if he had to create one thing, he wouldn't naturally create that. So then having someone else who naturally creates that, he gets to see what he creates flourish into something that he wants to see and experience too. And this is the beautiful thing about reciprocal relationships. And same with me, like I love stability, I value it so much, but I realize that if I want to continue the way I want to, I can't do it in the way I want to. So I can now find a partner who loves to create that, so it's not a burden on him, it's not for me, he's doing it already. And not only can I continue creating what I love to create and what I naturally am, but I can value and see and appreciate how he creates stability and how that's his art form. So I don't have to naturally know how to do it, I just have to know how to appreciate it. And so I think it's really important to know what you naturally do create and what you will value in a partner, and what the reciprocal of what you create is. And it's really important, because if I went into dating thinking, oh, well, I'll be open to a 50-50 relationship, I'm ignoring his needs. I'm ignoring the fact that he needs someone who can also help him with stability. So you have to acknowledge your limitations too. Being really aware that the opposite of trustworthy is not trustworthy. Being the opposite of the reciprocal of trustworthy is trusting. Being really aware of this dynamic when you're looking for a partner. You need to be able to receive as well as give. So if you want someone who is both trusting and trustworthy, you need to also be both trusting and trustworthy. I just found that a really interesting dynamic, this idea of reciprocals, and how it's not only applicable to relationship specific, but also how you structure your whole relationship. And as I said, as we think about beings as they have one whole purpose, they have one whole North Star, being able to fully accept and lean into what you are, and then find someone else who is the reciprocal or the opposite of that, who loves doing that, who loves creating that without you, so that you're not dependent on each other. And then you find each other, and while you don't create what each other creates, you're magnetically drawn because you have the opposite of what the other person wants. And it works because you appreciate and you value what the other person produces, because you'd want to produce it if you could, but we just have so much of a capacity and we have to make prioritizations at some points. So this is where a really beautiful, flourishing relationship is, like how you can think about it a little bit more logically, a little bit more stably, so that you can feel more confident you're picking a partner who is right for you long term. I know that was a lot. So thank you very much for listening. If this had any value for you at all, please like and subscribe. I'd love to hear your comments too. I do read them, I do love them. So thank you very much, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Until the next revelation. Bye.